Hey guys, Colby here. Welcome to another Racial Legends video. Guys, this one will be going over the update 3.0 highlights that it's been posted by Valkyrie already. Today, you've probably seen it. So I'll quickly go through what the Doom Tower is going to bring to us as what they say here. So we're going to have 132 stages, 108 common floors, 12 boss floors, and 12 secret rooms. We knew all this together. We have a small glimpse of what the rewards are going to be here, guys. So we see we're going to have some potions, energy, crafting material, some gems, silver keys, and then yeah, more crafting materials and glyphs also, which is cool. I hope we get like random glyphs so we can also get speeds from there. So the thing is, guys, that these stages will be using golden keys and silver keys, and each floor will also be repeatable if you guys want to go there, but the rewards from each floor are not going to be repeatable, so you won't be able to just spam a floor all day and get all those rewards. So you're going to have like those 10 keys, 10 gold keys, and then 10 silver keys, which will be refreshed every single day. And then we get a glimpse of how the Doom Tower is gonna be, the boss is gonna be. These will be rotating, and then each boss will be also dropping some crafting material for their specific sets, and each boss will drop a specific set crafting materials. So we first have the Fatal set. If you guys didn't see my previous videos on this, the Fatal set just gives 15% attack and 5% critical rate. Nothing too crazy about that. It's a 2-set bonus. It drops from Cooldeath, the Magma Dragon. Then we go to the Crab, who is possibly going to be dropping, the Scarab King. He's going to be dropping this resistance plus 40 and immunity, so it's a stronger immunity set. This will only be good if you get 4 good pieces with speed, so you can replace those on your speed champion that you use immunity sets on. Then we've got Affinity Breaker, which does reduce the chance to get a weak hit, which is normally 35%. It reduces it to 15%. So it's pretty good. It's not that bad, but I would rather have this as 0. So 0% chance to get a weak hit. This would be like a game-changing one, because you could also use like Royal Guards in Fire Knight with this. It will help a ton of champions just do a like really good damage, but this can also help in your arena team if you have like an affinity weak champion and you really want to have him beat the odds against the stronger affinity champions. Then we finally have the Frostbite set will be dropping from the Frostbiter, and this one is a 2-set bonus. It's gonna help you resist the freezes, and also 10% chance to place a freeze debuff on the attacker, and then chances increase to 30, 45%, and 20, 30% respectively with more sets equipped. And I mean, this is weird because the Frostbiter just keeps freezing you. So if you manage to beat her, then you get a set that actually helps you resist freeze. Maybe it's so that we can get this set before we go on the spider. Like we beat it in the early stages, we get a few sets, and then we use it to beat the later stages, which might have the spider again, the frost spider. I'm not sure. We'll see. In addition to artifact materials, you'll be able to win champion fragments by completing secret rooms. As you guys know, the secret rooms will have varying difficulty in terms of rarity, faction. So those will be random. We don't know exactly yet on each floor what's going to have and what's going to be in the normal or hard version of the tower. So we'll only see when it comes out or when, we get closer to that. So Thea the Tomb Angel, we already had her, like a sneak peek of her before through a leak. So we saw her model, saw how she is. She's like an angel with wings. She's a really good champion, by the way. From all these stats that we see, she's a Knight Revenant, attack force, legendary. So her basic attacks 2 times at random when attended, has a 75% chance of placing a Hex debuff for 5 turns. These debuff cannot be resisted. Each critical hit decreases the cooldown of Not of This World skill by 1 turn. And that skill basically gives you a perfect veil on this champion for 3 turns, grants an extra turn. So yeah, she basically reduces her cooldowns as well with her A1 on that A3. And because A3 also gives her an extra turn, she further reduces cooldowns on that. So pretty cool skill. Her A2, guys, Hex Reaper attacks all enemies. Damage increased by 50% for each Hex debuff on the enemy team. So on the enemy team, so it's not on the enemy champion since it's an AoE. Stacks up to 300%. Oh, this one will be so good. Removes all Hex debuffs from all enemies after attacking. So good. And then her passive, Cruel Angel, 50% chance of placing a True Fear debuff on all enemies for 1 turn when an enemy loses 30% or more of their max HP in a single hit. This is so strong, and it's going to be fantastic in Arena. I think she's going to be a great nuker for Arena. She's a 4 champion as well. Really loving this champion. And we also have Gunblock, Skyhide. So attacks for enemy. It's a support Orcs Force champion, legendary. Yeah, that's cool. Attacks one enemy, 50% chance of placing a leech for 2 turns, 50% chance of a leech on 2 random enemies if the champion has full HP. Okay, okay, whatever. Leech is always good. And then Faithful Trickster attacks one enemy, 60% chance of stealing 2 random buffs from the target. Also 60% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter by 50%, and then steals 50% of the target's max turn meter instead if this champion has full HP. Oh, this is so strong. Stealing the turn meter is so strong. And then her A3, his A3, it's gonna be an AoE, attacks all enemies twice, 75% chance of placing a decreased defense, and also decreasing turn meter, and then also a good chance to apply the weaken. So another good champion that applies weaken and decreased defense, but this is 6 turns cooldown, which is pretty big, by the way. 6 turns cooldown. Hopefully this gets dropped to 3, but I don't think so. This is like 6 turns. It's so long. And then Enchanter, whenever 4 or more buffs are placed on the enemy team in a single turn, play a shield buff on this champion for equal to 15% of this champion's max HP for 2 turns. Yeah, this one is cool. It just buffs him, so the shield is only applied on him, so it's okay, it's whatever. He's not that exciting as the Tomb Angel. I think she's gonna be like the top reward in the Doom Tower. Then we look at Uros, the Soul Cage. By the way, they told us that this champion will be an Undead Horde, so more Undead Horde champions, guys. Attacks one enemy, plays a shield buff on this champion equal to 10% of the champion's max HP. The shield value increased by 1% for each poison debuff on the target, so possibly like 20% max. Pretty good shield. Then AoE, Fetid Eruption, attacks all enemies. 75% of decreasing the turn meters by 15% of enemies under 1 or more poison debuffs. And then decrease speed debuff with 2 or more poisons, and then a stun if the enemy has 3 or more poisons. So pretty good. I mean, you can possibly use this guy with something like a Richthof who applies 3 poisons on an AoE. And yeah, he can actually stun all enemies with this. So pretty good if you have the champion to accompany him with. And then he also plays a strengthen buff on all allies for 2 turns and a 50% ally protection. So he looks like he's going to be a good champion for even the clan boss, since that's a target that usually has the most amount of poisons on. And then when attacked, has a 50% chance of placing a 5% poison debuff on the attacker for 2 turns. Always great. And then whenever an ally is attacked while under a strengthened buff, has a 50% chance of placing a provoke debuff on the attacker for 1 turn. This one works for dungeons for sure. And then increase this champion's max HP by 5% whenever an enemy receives damage from a poison. And also decrease their max HP. So pretty solid passive right here. Applies poisons. If he's got the strengthen, he's gonna apply provoke. He's gonna gain max HP. He can become like slowly a tanky champion throughout the fight, and then cannot decrease a single champion's max HP by more than 25% in one battle. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, solid. And cannot increase this champion's max HP by more than 50% HP. And then an aura, AT resists. Okay, a good champion. Not too crazy though. Then guys, we've got Royal Archmage. He's gonna be a Banner Lord, epic champion this time. This guy looked good the first time that I saw him. Like he had a turn meter fill on his A1, 20% if critical. Then on the A2, like a stun debuff on all other enemies than the target that you target, basically. So attacks one enemy. Also attacks all other enemies if the first attack is critical. So you're gonna have him 100% crit. You're gonna stun the enemies, and then decrease the turn meter of each enemy without a stun debuff by 20%. So that's good. Great buffs on his A3, 5 turns cooldown. Immune to turn meter decreasing effects, and then ally speed in arena. Yeah, he looks to be an arena champion, but epics, yeah, always good for mid-tier accounts. And we've got an Inferno Golem. Attacks one enemy, 50% chance of placing a 30% decreased critical rate debuff for 2 turns. And then A2 attacks all enemies, 20% chance of placing an HP burn. The chance of placing the debuff increased by 20% for each alive enemy. So yeah, this will be great for the spider as an epic champion. Look at that. So it's going to be 100% chance to place an HP burn on an AoE for 2 turns. Pretty strong champion for the spider. Definitely good for many other players out there. Another Demonspawn, by the way, to beat the spider with. So Pyretic release attacks all enemies, 50% chance of increasing the cooldowns of all skills by 2 turns on enemies under HP burn debuffs. Also plays a shield buff equal to 20% of this champion's max HP on all allies for 2 turns. Instantly activates the skill when this champion is revived by Elemental Conjurer. Yeah, the next champion we're gonna see. The legendary that we saw before also had these kind of skills. And then the passive, 10% chance of placing a sphere on an enemy for 1 turn whenever they receive damage from an HP burn debuff placed on themselves. Increase ally HP in all battles by 25%. Definitely a solid spider champion. We don't know about, the Doom Tower spiders. He might be useful in there as well. And there's Elemental Conjur, a Dark Elf support epic. 50% chance for block buffs on the A1. And the A2, guys, removes all buffs from enemies at a 75% chance. I think this will be 100% with skill books. Also has a 75% chance of placing a 25% weaken debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. So, like Madame Ceres, but not really. She's this one's a force. So, yeah, pretty good. It's not a hit. So, this will not be a weak skill. So, pretty good skill for an epic champion to have if you don't have Madame Ceres. Revives the dead ally with 50% HP, then fills the turn meter by 50%. We'll then also place block debuffs buff on them. And then we'll also revive Inferno Golem and Uros, the Soul Cage, with 30% HP if they're on the same team and not the target of the skill. So you can possibly revive 3 members with this skill. And we'll then also fill the turn meters by 30% after reviving. Yeah, so if you specifically target them, then they'll gain more HP and turn meter and a block debuff buff. Pretty solid support, nothing too crazy, just really solid about this, about removing the buffs. I always like more champions that remove buffs. And then guys, they say, so all of these champions will be able to get from Doom Tower, and then they say, every player who completed floor 10 will get a placement in the Doom Tower rankings. These are separated into the following categories: global and clan. We're going to see so many fighting it out in the global. I'm not sure if it's going to be timed, so how fast you can actually clear the floors. That's going to be cool to see. I hope it's going to be timed, and I hope we don't see people using cheats to get way faster times, like 1 second clears and actually beat everything, because we're probably going to see some Russians do something with it. And then we got the Pixniel. She's going to be the Christmas Fusion Champion, by the way, guys. Magic, legendary support champions in the High Elves. Mistress of Glamours is her A1. 30% chance to place a Veil buff on a random ally for 1 turn. Cannot place the Veil buff on this champion. That's cool. A2 has an increased defense and continuous heal, and then attacks all enemies under freeze debuffs. Place a 25% weaken on all enemies under freeze debuffs. Then A3 attacks 5 times at random. Really solid. Each hit has a 30% chance of placing a freeze debuff for 1 turn. Has a 100% chance of placing a freeze debuff on enemies that receive 2 hits. So if you double hit someone, there's going to be a 100% chance to freeze. Really solid in controlling some enemies. So a wave has maybe 3 members remaining. She's going to be definitely freezing one of those. And then the passive, 5 turns cooldown, by the way. This might be able to be dropped, and this can also be used for the Fire Knight. And then Frost Weaver, the passive, whenever an enemy places a freeze debuff on an ally, has a 20% chance of stealing the freeze debuff and placing it on this champion instead. Has a 25% chance of filling this champion's territory by 25% every time they receive a freeze debuff. Has a 35% chance of removing any freeze debuff from this champion at the start of every turn. If there are multiple champions in this team with this skill, only one will activate. So I really do like her, like a huge resist on that aura as well. I really do like her. Against the Frost Spider in the Doom Tower, she might be really helpful, guys. So definitely go for that Christmas fusion. Don't let it go, guys. Don't let it go frozen. And then Yakal, the Scourge, is going to be Barbarian's Void. Attacks one enemy twice. Each hit has a 20% chance of placing a freeze debuff. Will ignore shield buffs if there are one or more enemies under freeze. Will also ignore block damage buff if there are two or more enemies under freeze. And then will also ignore the 30% of the target's defense if there are three or more enemies. So definitely solid with like a Torment in your team. Attacks one enemy or anything other that freezes, like Gurgo. There's so many champions. 75% chance of placing a 30% decreased speed debuff for 3 turns. And then 75% chance of placing a freeze debuff for 1 turn. Also steals 100% of the target's turn meter and plays an 30% increased speed buff on this champion. Really solid skill. Just basically destroys the enemy by freezing them and also stealing their turn meter. Wow, really good A2 there. And then A3 Glaciate attacks one enemy 3 times. If the target is under a freeze debuff, removes the debuff after attacking and then places it on all enemies except the initial target. Also, you can actually just freeze everyone instead. It will also attack all enemies except the initial target after the 3rd hit. Wow. Okay, really solid A3 as well. I'm liking this Void Champion, this Barbarian. He's probably gonna be hitting pretty hard. And then the passive, decrease the damage this champion receives by 10% and increase the damage this champion inflicts by 10%. If there are one or more enemies under freeze debuffs, then he can also gain resistance if there are 2 or more enemies. And then the active effect, places an unkillable buff on this champion for 2 turns whenever there are 3 enemies under freeze debuffs. Wow, look at that passive. This champion is nuts. This champion is so good. Increase ally attack in Doom Tower by 43%. So this is the first time we see an aura specifically for the Doom Tower. Now, we didn't see any specific auras before, so we might see like a rebalancing of some champions' auras to also apply specifically for the Doom Tower. We just have to wait and see. But yeah, look at that. He's gonna be like MVP, I think, in the Doom Tower. The way that everything here is listed, it's like get freeze on enemies. That's what they're saying. Then we have Attack, the Wenderin, Epic Force Support, Demonspawn Champion. Attacks one enemy, has a 30% chance of decreasing the duration of one random buff if the target is under HP burn debuff. Also has a 30% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter by 15% if they're under a freeze debuff. Solid, blocks debuff on all allies and a strengthen. Attacks all enemies, 70% chance of placing a freeze. Wow, the theme here is just freeze everyone. And then 70% chance of placing in an HP burn. Solid, based on their defense. Heals all allies by 5% of their max HP every time an enemy under an HP burn gets a turn. And then fields the turn meter of all allies by 10% every time an enemy under a freeze debuff gets a turn. So yeah, another very solid champion. Increases ally defense in all battles by 25%. I think these 2 epics might be needed for the fusion though, so it's like a lost cause going over it since I'm gonna feed them to get the legendary, I guess. I'm not sure yet. And then this guy is like the Grinch. They called him Grunch. Okay, all green tribes. He looks like a Skidwalker instead. Whatever. Attacks one enemy. 40% chance of placing a block buff debuff for 1 turn. Then a 50% chance of placing a bomb debuff that detonates after 1 turn. Removes all debuffs from all allies. Then places 15% continuous heal for 1 turn on each ally for every debuff removed for them. Okay, he's like a bomber and also a cleanser. Pretty good. Definitely gonna help you with the Okrin tribes if you're still having trouble in there, guys. And then we're gonna have some artifact rebalancing, guys. The artifact rebalancing is here. It's basically every set that you see or get in mostly the Ice Golem. They're gonna buff it a little bit. So retaliation goes to 35% instead of 25. Heal goes to 15. The toxic set goes to 75%. I would rather that was 5% poisons. Reflex goes to 40%. The counterattack avenging goes to 45%. And then this one, destroy, which reduces max HP, max enemy HP, yeah, goes to 40%. The cursed also gets a huge buff. Curing gets a huge buff. I don't like the buffs here on the items. They're still going to be useless compared to all the others. Maybe they'll have some use for the Doom Tower. We're just going to see when it comes. And then they say Christmas decorations, return to the Bastion. Whatever. That's it, guys, for the new patch that's coming, patch 3.0. We still don't know exactly when it's coming. They said mid-December. So if everything comes mid-December, we should be happy, like the second week. That should definitely be good. I really hope we get a release date quite soon, so I know to take some days off work. So guys, thanks a lot for watching this video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Before we close off the video, guys, let's quickly do our draw for that end of the month giveaway. So guys, this was the video from yesterday on Verges. We did have a few comments, 320 comments. I told everyone to just put down the word Verges. Guys, for this video today, just put down the word Christmas. That's it. Christmas is gonna be the word. Let's go and see. I put the Verges in there. Let's put there the link for this video. And guys, in order to be entered for the end of the month whale accounts, 2 accounts giveaway, is if you do enter that unique word and also be a subscriber. So get the YouTube comments, 289, and let's see who won for today, guys. And it's gonna be Max Needy. Regis is extremely underrated in Arena. He dominates gold for solo. Yeah, I don't think so, man. So guys, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya!